at WLFE-DB.com for upcoming shows and so much more.
Hey everyone, it's Tuesday night again. You know what that means, don't you? It's time to join Mike and Kristie for another episode of Where's My Sage? A show hosted by a psychic medium and a guy on a quest to find Bigfoot. Who would have thought? Together, they will take you on all sorts of adventures, and not with lots of different people. Kristie even gives readings. It's time to sit back, get up and get ready. You can't sample the universe sitting down. Your hosts are waiting. Come on, let's go.
Welcome, folks, to Where's My Sage? I'm Mike with my wonderful co-host, Kristie, over here for once, not across the world.
Reverse.
And we are live tonight, and the camera's kind of off now.
You're kind of off.
Yeah. We're live from Paranormal Oddities in the venue. And how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. As soon as I learned not to look at the monitor like I'm used to, and I look up where I'm supposed to look.
Yeah, there's a camera right there.
I don't know. Remember how we used to talk about the trip to Michigan last year?
Yeah.
We'll see if he's going to make it through this show tonight, you guys.
It may not happen.
It just might not happen. I know. I give him props. He and Joe worked their butts off to get this all set up. They did a fantastic job. But in true Mike fashion, Mike decided 5 minutes before we had to go live, let me try this. And so here we are. No, it's great. No, they worked their butts off and everything's going good and everything sounds good. And our guest is on here and we're really excited to be here. We're at Paranormal Oddities. I can never say paranormal.
Well, it was Google. I have no clue the maps on the way here, you know.
You know what? The past is in the past.
Yeah.
I know, right? So, it must just be the night for the paranormal. But yes, so we're really excited. We're at Paranormal Oddities in Depew, New York, and we're at the venue in Paranormal Oddities. So we're really excited. We have a live studio audience tonight.
And there they are.
Yes, good job. See,
I can do this. I just had to see what I was doing. And we got folks coming in, so
that's awesome.
Good evening.
So I really hope you can read that because with my contacts, it is not going to happen.
Hey, Paul, yep. That's why I made that bigger over on this side, that little monitor. We had it all set up, and I realized that, hey, can the audience see what's going on? YouTube's not up and running.
Oh.
So let me take care of that minor little defect. But we've got some crazy events coming up. So let me say hello to a couple of folks here. Let me get the audience up. All right. Joe says we're good from the other room.
Awesome. Thanks.
So what did you tell them what's been going on? I'm going to kind of click and get this quick fixed.
So what's been going on? No. So it's been a week, right? It's been a good week and we have some things going that are going to take place and some events coming up. This is really interesting for us. We're kind of hoping that the activity picks up a little bit here tonight because, as everybody knows, or maybe those of you who don't know, this is a haunted building and it is crazy, amazing, and fun. So we're hoping for a little bit of that as well. So what else is going on? Mike's getting ready for his trip. Mike's going on his East Coast tour pretty soon, right? Don't hurt yourself. So what else is going on? I am going to be doing some big events coming up the first weekend of March and the last weekend of March. We will both be at Rochester Winter Fair Fest. That's going to be amazing. I will be in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th, or the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Sorry, Stacey. But Mystic and Mystery Weekend. It's going to be awesome. So I will be doing private readings there as well. What else? I feel like there's something else I just booked and I can't. Just got it in the works and now
we're both doing interviews tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. I'm on I'm so sorry, Sandy. I'm so sorry, Sandy. Yes, tomorrow. It's been a long day. Tomorrow I will be on Paranormally Blonde as a guest on their show. Check it out. Go to YouTube and subscribe to their page. Also, please subscribe to.
I'm not.
You good?
Yeah.
Please pull up Where's My Sage, Tactical Bigfoot Research, and Kristie London, Medium and Reiki Master, and subscribe to our pages as well. The more
Yes.
our numbers go up, the more opportunities present. YouTube presents us with. I really am having a tough time talking, so there's got to be something going on.
And I'm the one who went for the brain scan today, you know? So
you guys know when things like this start happening to me, anything's going to be possible. So
let's
now
bring
I
our
killed
guest
some time,
on because we've,
right?
you know, I mean,
give him a nice proper introduction at least, because
right.
before you bring him into this chaos.
Shane, if you can give me a thumbs up, let me know you're good to go in, bud, and we'll be bringing you on tonight. We have Shane Corson from the Olympic Project, Monster X Radio, the lights dead, and Project Zoo Book. Just featured in the last of the On the Trail series, The Discovery, in that same series that I was in from Small Town Monsters. So we're going to be bringing Shane on, and are you ready to come join us, sir? He's got his camera off, so I'm going to pull him up. Hopefully he's there.
Well, don't
he
pull him up in case he doesn't.
There he is.
Okay, there it was.
Thumbs up is good.
He pops on. He doesn't expect to be live, and the poor guy's like on the spot and his shirt's off, and then we got to take him out and the whole thing.
Oh no, we're not going into that again.
No, I had my shirt on. My pants were off. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay.
It's a Zoom call. It's a Zoom. It's like a Zoom call.
I mean, that happened to us the other night. We're doing a live show, and we've told folks, hey, if you're going to come on with us, please make sure you got clothes on. And I'm getting text messages from Ren, goes, is my camera on? No, you're not the person we're bringing on live, but like threw their phone out in the hallway. So
yes, so we have to start making that a little more clear before we invite people to come on live with us. So how are you doing, Shane?
I'm doing well, and thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Oh.
So.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those nights, and that's the kind of day that we're having today.
Perfect.
So, my friend, we've had some talks, we've had some chats, but our audience is probably some are familiar. I know we see some familiar faces in the audience, but how did you get involved in this wonderful world of Bigfooting?
Well, it is wonderful. I got to tell you, I know there's individuals that get involved in the subject matter and they have a horrible experience, but it is wonderful. How I got involved? Well, I grew up in Scotland and on a little island off the west coast of Scotland called Islay. And I was interested in cryptids in general, heavily invested in and interested in paleontology, dinosaurs, fossils. And so basically, while I lived on this little island in Scotland, I read everything I can get my hands on when it came to cryptids or paleontology, dinosaurs. I used to write paleontologists in Edinburgh or Glasgow and get their feedback, back when we wrote letters, and didn't do emails or phone calls. And so that the dinosaur thing was a huge part of where I am now. And it still is. I'm a big, dinosaur fan. My mom got me, grew up kind of poor, but whatever books she could buy me in whatever shows I could watch on the little telly or television we had in Scotland, I'd watch a lot of programs, but, I was right around the corner basically from Loch Ness.
Wow. And
so Nessie was a huge part of that for me starting out into the, cryptozoological world. But I was very interested in Yeti, the Mapinguari, Mokalemembe out of Africa, and definitely, without a doubt, Sasquatch in North America. And I always thought, man, there's got to be something to this North American Sasquatch. And so it moved over to the States. Pardon me. Moved over to the States in '93. Moved down to San Diego in California. And around about '97, when I got my wheels, I could drive around. I really started to investigate reports. I drive up and down, Southern California, San Bernardino area, Cuyamaca, Alpine, the deserts area. I did a lot of work in Joshua Tree. And then I fell in love with Yosemite National Park. And so in San Diego, I could make that 12-hour drive up from San Diego to Yosemite. I spent a lot of time in Yosemite, backpacking, hiking, camping, and interviewing a lot of interesting witnesses that had, supposed encounters. around, from 97 through like 2006, before I met my wife, I really never came across anything in that I would contribute or assume was Sasquatch related. Just talked to a lot of interesting people. And in 2006, I met my wife. We ended up moving to Oregon, her home state. And I kind of just got more heavily involved in the Sasquatch research or phenomena while I was living in Oregon. Fell in love with it. Now here I'm in Oregon, and Oregon's an amazing state by itself, but you're kind of one of those mecca states for Sasquatch reports.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's how I kind of got into the subject matter, how I kind of got started. It was just I was an enthusiast. I love the fact that there could be something out there that it's not yet been proven, but there's a lot of anecdotal stories. There's a lot of physical evidence, as far as I'm concerned, with track casts and hair and stuff like that. And so, and now I'm up in Washington State, involved with the Olympic Project. So that's kind of how I got into this. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Ha ha.
Yeah. I mean, we're not used to doing a show this close where she can just poke me and take over. So we're going to kind of rock this out.
I need like a stick or
just
something.
Just don't knock her out. Yeah.
I'm just curious though, what was it like for you to move from Scotland to California? But that's a big change,
Yeah, great question. Brutal. I'll tell you, it was brutal. So the Scotland, the area I grew up in, it's very much like the Pacific Northwest. The temperature never gets, up here we do get 100, at least on the western part of Washington and Oregon. And it's very similar, but California compared to Scotland, when I moved over here, it was in the upper 90s and low hundreds, and I was dying. I was a fish out of water. It was very hot. I moved over at the age of 13. Getting in, integrating myself into school was very difficult because I had this thick accent.
Yeah.
All the girls, or the lassies, they loved it. But the guys did not. And so I spent a lot of time.
Sorry.
I spent a lot of time getting into altercations, shall we say, a lot of fist fights. And it was hard for me to make friends. At first, you can, but it was just like, the guys were, I don't know if it was jealousy or they just hated Scotsmen, but they would,
right.
They didn't like my accent. They didn't like the fact that I was getting a little attention from the ladies, I guess you could say. But eventually, so I kind of made myself lose my accent. I decided that I don't want to have this thing. But eventually, I made lots of great friends. Got into high school. Played a lot of I'm a soccer guy. Played soccer my whole life. It's a passion of mine, and made a lot of friends through that. And it was brutal at first because to be honest with you, I grew up on a mainly. Most of the island is just, ethnicity, it's white people. And so coming to the States and interacting with, African Americans and Hispanics, it was a culture shock, but it was really cool for me. It was really cool to see this diverse culture, this melting pot. And I thought, man, it was a culture shock, but really good experience. Once I kind of got my foothold here in the States, and I got to tell you, I'm really glad we made the move because I absolutely love it out here.
That's great. I know. And the first time I spoke to you, which has already been a couple of years ago, right? I would never in a million years have thought that to be able to lose such a thick accent, that's wow.
Well, my dad still got a very thick accent. I mean, he's never lost it, but if any of my relatives come over here to the States or I travel to Scotland, it comes back and I don't even notice it. Right. Or I've had a few little grandpa's cough medicine drinks. It comes back.
Gotcha. And the reason I asked about that, sorry, I have to hold on for one more minute. The reason I asked about that was because I was curious to know as well if, the things you faced integrating into a whole new life and lifestyle played a part in why and how you may have gotten into Bigfoot and just that whole idea of things in the first place.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it did for me. it made me stronger as a person. It made me very strong. I think mentally and physically and all the above. But I'm the oldest of 8 siblings, and I'm the oldest, so I helped raise those siblings. I've always been kind of honestly a go-getter, someone that doesn't back down, and so it was just a new experience for me. One that I had it took some adjusting, getting used to it, but once I got my foothold in there, and really starting enjoying the culture and everything, it has definitely helped me in my goings and to and fro now with this endeavor with the Sasquatch thing. Oh, absolutely. Because I'm a lover and not a hater, and I talk to so many different people, and I can being from a foreign country and having traveled to other countries. There's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, but I can connect with a lot of people, and I just love to listen to people in general. So there was so much with that move that shaped my life, but in a good way.
That's great. Okay, your turn.
Now you're an avid hunter and fisherman. I mean, were you doing that before you came to the States, or is this something you picked up when you got here and said, "This is awesome, and I'm going to rock down that path"?
Yeah. Well, in Scotland, so in the UK in general, as far as hunting's concerned, not many people own weapons over there, guns. If you do, it's a shotgun or you crossbow hunt or something of that nature. I never personally did that over there, but I had family members that crossbow hunt. On the island, we have wild goat, we have red deer, that's throughout the UK, and some other species, goose and whatnot, grouse. I never actually did a whole lot of hunting, but fishing. Oh yeah, fishing. I worked on crab boats. I've done a lot of fishing in Scotland, and then that passion, even the camping thing. Camping started over there for me, solo camping and stuff, even at a young age. Not many predators over there, but
that would be a little concern, right?
yeah. But honestly, the camping and the fishing really, when I moved, it moved with me. And when I got into a bigger country with many differences, vast wilderness, vast forest, I was a kid in a candy shop, and the fishing. Yeah, I'm an avid fisherman. The hunting is relatively new for me out here, but I am an avid hunter. Derek Randall's one of the OP members and one of the individuals that started the project. He's an avid hunter, but not just an avid hunter, proficient hunter. And I've learned so much. Up here, we could hunt elk, we can hunt bear, we can hunt a lot of things, but we mainly stick to black-tailed deer, because they are the ninjas or ghosts of the deer family, especially up here. And they're very, very hard to hunt, but, it's not just a hunt for me. I love, because I get some hate because I'm a hunter, but honestly, I put meat in my freezer. And if you look at the price of beef right now, my freezer is packed full of deer meat. And I spent a lot of time trying to hunt that deer. Like this past November, I got my buck this year up here in the west, on the western area of Washington, and my freezer's full, and my family enjoys venison. We enjoy it, and it's you spend the time out there, and it to me, not only feeding your family, but you're not relying on the powers that be to feed you. You go out there and do it yourself, and and you cook it and everything else. So yeah, avid hunter, avid fisherman. Fishing is one of my biggest passions, and I combine fishing with Sasquatching. A lot of times the areas I go to, you probably won't see me without a fishing pole in my hand.
And you had your experience. You know me, I'm always wrapping around in the background.
Oh, of course.
But you had your experience fishing with some boys, right? Hanging out with the guys and
Yeah, absolutely. When I moved, that was in Oregon in 2011, August of 2011. I was some of my coworkers. One of them was an avid outdoorsman, fisherman, and the other was from Boston, kind of a transplant out here like I was. He really had no outdoors experience, but yeah, we decided to go out and find out some remote mountain lakes, some high mountain lakes up in the Mount Hood National Forest. Yes, I was heavily invested in Sasquatch then, but this was just a fishing trip. I didn't bring any of my usual things, my usual equipment, and Sasquatch, it wasn't even on my mind. We got together and found this location and decided to head out there for a couple of days, 3 to 4 days, and do some fishing out in this area, hiking in and hitting different lakes, catching up in these areas. There's, cutthroat, there's brook trout, rainbow trout. None of them get very big, but man, it's nothing like catching your fish from a lake, bringing it back to your camp and eating it. I mean, catch and release for some, but catching a couple and hey, that's your meal for the night. And what a special treat. But yes, absolutely. Fishing was a big part, as many reports you get of this experience that we had.
Awesome. But just, as an avid outdoorsman, you're really in tune to what's going on and sounds and things. I mean, I know not to try to reach out to you those couple weeks of hunting season because, you're out there. But
Yeah.
you and Derek and the rest of the crew, you guys are out there all the time. So when you're out there, is there something that's really, caught your eye or something that's really just perplexed you? And before I completely forget, folks, if you've got any questions, throw them in the comments down below. Just put them in caps so I can see them back here. I'm getting a little old looking at the monitor. And if our studio audience has got any questions, throw your hands up because we got some great folks here to come to join us tonight. And I don't want to forget about the folks back here. They're so nice to join us and here.
You mean the ones we're staring right at?
Yes.
Right at?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. They're staring at us. We're staring back.
We would never want to forget about all of you 5 feet from us. That's right. Sorry.
So, and please like, share, and subscribe. I totally, skipped that when I started going.
You did, and I didn't even think of it either because that's usually your thing. So yes. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So let me understand your. Can you? Can you restate that or re-ask?
You're out there quite a bit. Is there a sound or smell or an action that really caught you off guard? Something really strange.
Yeah. Whether you're hunting or just backpacking or hiking or fishing, there's a lot of strange smells you come across, right? I mean, animals, I was out this past weekend camping with Kip Morrill, Robert Leiterman, Todd Hale, Chris Spencer, Rebecca Ann Slick, Jonathan Brown, Kirk Brandenburg, good group of people. And, we're camped kind of dispersed and came across a really odd smell. I shouldn't say odd smell. No, really familiar smell. And it was elk. So when you're out in these areas, especially up here in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to smell stuff. I mean, when the elk move through, you'll smell the elk if there's a herd of them or, close proximity, depending on the wind. You can smell bear, you can smell, certain types of scat and all that. When I've been out, like I said, whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, or researching, I come across a lot of odd smells. A lot of times most of the time you can't explain it. There's a smell there, but you don't know what it is. Unless you're familiar with elks and, and stuff like that, then you're like, it's elk. That's just that, sometimes you'll come across a really odd smell. Smells, you pick up on that stuff. When you spend enough time in the woods, and one of the things, once again, that I've learned over the years is that, and something that Derek Randalls goes by as well, not just for hunting, but when you enter the woods, I kind of take a deep breath and just kind of let all my anxieties, whatever, because for hunting, animals pick up on so much. It's crazy. When you can enter the woods, and there's nothing weird about this. It's absolutely just a thing. When you're in the woods, you just relax. And I do naturally because I love the woods. It's, it's like my second home. It really is. Animals pick up on everything. And so when I enter the woods, I just kind of let all this stuff, all my anxieties, all the what stress of that day or the week or whatever have you. And then I walk into woods really calm. So because animals pick up on movement. If you're out there, moving really fast and all that, that's not what animals do. And so they pick up on that stuff. All of my movement is methodical and slow. And that really works in for hunting as well. But, some of the things that I've come across over the years that I thought have been odd or strange or obscure, certain smells. Definitely, I would say number one is probably certain vocals or movement. When I know I'm in an area and I know that there's elk and there's bear, there's cougar, and with big cats, you rarely hear them. They're just there. Deer, you'll hear them prance off. Elk, they can sound like an elephant in the woods sometimes if you spook them. Bear, they can do that. Bear are pretty stealthy. They're actually pretty stealthy, but you can hear them as well. There's certain things, obviously percussives like knocks where there is not a gunshot. It's not tree fall. It's not a tree popping. That stuff will stand out like a sore thumb. A lot of different vocals, animals do make a lot of sounds, and I'm always careful with certain sounds when I'm in the woods. I'm usually always carrying some sort of recording device because my ears will play tricks on me. But, individuals like David Ellis and Chris Spencer of the Olympic Project and myself, we can bring that audio back home, put the SD card on a computer, throw it on a spectrograph and look at it visually and then compare it to known animals. I'm like, I don't know what that was. Oh, it's a barred owl, and you compare it to, or it's a coyote. But there's a lot of sounds you hear that, and sometimes you feel that, there's something really strange about that. And of course, I do come across occasionally certain stick breaks, especially with the huckleberry, that I think are very interesting and different. It's not like this huckleberry's been broken by a bear or a deer or an elk or, tree fall, snowfall, wind. It's different, depending on the location and how it was broken or twisted. And so those are some of the things, besides, the obvious impressions we found over the years, or I found over the years. Those are just a few of the things that I've experienced over the years and also look for when I'm out there.
The OP, you guys, the Olympic Project, you guys are really into documenting and evidence. And can you explain sort of what you guys do when it comes to sound evidence that even our paranormal folks could really look at? Some of the software or really how you take those recorders, that long duration stuff. I'm trying to get you and I have talked before, and we're part of some of the other groups. So just a basic for the new kids on the block.
Yeah, let's just start out with audio. When I first got into recording audio, heavily, I started out with like little Sonys and cheapos. Then I kind of upgraded to like, your Tascam DR05 or DR07 units, which are and I still use them today when I'm on, solo backpacking trips or back, short-term stuff, because they're fantastic, hardy recorders, and you record in like 30-minute, 28-minute segments. Fantastic recorders. And then, but nowadays, with the long-term stuff, we use long-term. We do use the Tascams and other audio units, but the likes of Chris Spencer, for example, he's a big part of the Olympic Project with the long-term audio recorders. He's got a couple of units that record, upwards of 20 to 30 days in the field, so we can place those in there, and we don't have to be in the area to record. We can leave it. We'll pick it up in a month or whatever have you. Chris Spencer's also. He spent quite a bit of money on this SM4 unit. It's about a $800 natural or bioacoustical professional unit that the biologists use in the field and bird experts use in the field, and it's fantastic. And so what we do, we place this audio out there, and sometimes we'll just kind of let the audio do its work, and we'll stay out of these areas just to see what's moving around this area. And the thing about that's really neat is if you do it long enough, and I'm talking about like a month or two, I'm talking about years on end, you get to know what animals are in that area, when they're in that area, and what they're up to. And so that's one of the things we really do. And it's not just listening, like I said earlier. We also, we'll bring back this, the SD cards out of these units, replace the batteries, bring back the SD cards, put them in our computers, and then, obviously you can listen to something like, oh, wow, that was a crazy knock or crazy crash, or that was a long howl or vocal or whistle. But by throwing it up on something you can visually look at, a spectrogram via either Audacity or Sonic Visualizer, free programs, free programs that you can use. You can pay money for others, but Audacity is fantastic. It's a free thing. It's how I edit a lot of my my podcast shows. It's a free thing. And so we visually look at the stuff, and you can compare it to known animals or some of your past recordings and rule in or rule out things. And you can use, speaking of apps or programs, I mean, the Macaulay Library of Sounds. It's a fantastic resource for known animal sounds, because you can look at some of those sounds and compare it to what you've recorded. And so that, to me, the audio stuff, especially the visual aspect to it, is phenomenal. That's just one of the things we do. Now, we're obviously out there documenting a lot of different things. Everybody goes out to the woods. I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of researchers go out to the woods and they don't do any documentation. They're just wanting that experience. They're wanting, something unknown. They want the unknown thing, and that could happen. And a lot of times sometimes it does, and sometimes they think it does. But by documenting and staying in one area, not ambulance chasing, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not for the OP. We have about 3 different areas we kind of work in and really study and spend a lot of time in. That's kind of what our angle is. Some of our members, Derek Randalls, James Milling, some of those members used to, they get a call and they be in, Washington, they go to Idaho, they go to Montana, wherever their new report was, a new sighting. We've given up that. Not that we don't occasionally, especially for really intriguing ones or where there's a lot of trace evidence.
Right.
But we focus on these core areas, including the nest area, where we get to know all the ins and outs. We document the different weather temperatures, the different seasons, the elevation, the barometric pressure, the moon phases, and what activity is going on in these areas via, visual, being boots on the ground, and also with the, and some camera work, a little bit of camera work, and then also with the acoustical recording stuff, and getting to know the coyotes in this area, and the elk, and the deer, and the bear, and the cougar, and the grouse, and all the other little, all the ungulates, and all the other little critters that roam in there. So we document all that, the known stuff. We document when nothing's going on. Because a lot of times you're out there recording or in the field, and there's nothing going on, and people go, "Oh, there's no Sasquatch here," or "Oh, well, you could say that about bear or coyote. Oh, there's no coyote here," but they are out there. They are out there. So documenting not just the big happenings, but also the nothings, I think is super important. That's what we do. Documentation, because, and I'm speaking for the Olympic Project here, we're not out to prove the existence of Sasquatch. Most of the members, not all of them, know that Sasquatch exists. They've either had a sighting or a personal encounter, or they've just seen enough of the evidence that is out there. And a lot of people want to argue that, but if you're a true investigator enthusiast, you'll maybe you won't come to that conclusion, but you can't deny there's a lot of stuff out there. And we do have skeptics in the Olympic Project, but most of these individuals are very, within the Olympic Project, are in it for the right reasons, and they kind of on the same page as the rest of the group, that Sasquatch is a living, breathing entity. So we're not out to prove the existence of Sasquatch. We're more about the what is it, the who, the what, the why, what elevation is going to be, why is it in this area, why is it not in this area possibly, and that's kind of our angle. It's just a group of individuals that are about documentation as much as we can, and when we've documented, we document more, and we document more.
Cool. I have a question, just going back to what you were talking about being in the woods. I'm curious, when you're out there, do you find that one of your senses is more heightened than the rest? That's a great question. The sense would be not just hearing, because a lot of these areas I go into there's animals everywhere, but you don't hear them and you don't see them. I mean, everywhere. I tell people all the time, if you're hiking out in the Pacific Northwest, you've passed the cougar, you've passed the bear. Obviously, you can pass deer and all that, but those animals are there. They're watching you. You're just not seeing them, but they're there. So hearing is huge. You pick up on little subtle things when you're out there. If you listen really close, and most people when they're walking by hear a squirrel, and maybe it's 100 yards away, and they think, "Oh, it's a squirrel or chipmunk." But what kind of call is that chipmunk making? Well, sometimes it's a distress call.
Is it because of you or something else?
Right.
You know, little things like that. But also, if you're in the woods enough, and this goes into hunting too, because I practice this. There's also like that, and once again, nothing weird about this. Sixth sense. You just get you get a feeling. It's like the air changes up with different animals, and you know, you know when something's watching you. You know when to get out, when to stay. You know when to be observant. All that stuff. And once again, like I said, there's nothing weird about it. If you spend, like I do, and many of us do, an ungodly amount of time in the woods, loving it and breathing it in, it's just, you know, like walking. I compare it to this, and it's not my idea. I've heard this somewhere, but it is very true. You know, if you're sitting in a room and you're sitting on a chair, you know, in a closed room, and you know somebody walks in the room, and you're not facing the area they walk into, but you feel them. You just know that the barometric pressure changed something. You could feel them just knowing that somebody walked into that room. It's the same thing in the woods. And to tell me, you know, me as someone that doesn't live in the woods, what do animals pick up on? What does Sasquatch pick up on when you enter the woods in close proximity to them? They're going to pick up on that stuff. It's just natural.
So have you ever seen a moose by any chance?
He's heard enough interviews of me complaining about the moose.
I have, but only because of Mike.
I'm getting on a plane. I'm going out west, and I'm not coming back.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. Okay. Moving on. Well, I mean, you mentioned the squirrel, so I just had to.
Yeah. Again, don't get.
It wasn't a jackalope. It wasn't a jackalope. It didn't have horns.
Yeah, well, at least they found Alex, you know, big cat tracks, you know. So,
Right.
I mean, I can't find moose. You can't go out there. You guys have been blessed with the nest location.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which amazing film you guys that, you know, with the Small Town Monsters guys, you know, on the trail and beyond the trail. That location just is absolutely, you know, amazing. And can you kind of explain the nest? And for folks that are looking for evidence, I think this is really a cool thing to really learn about.
It is, unless you're on Facebook. There's a lot of, I don't even call them skeptics. I call them skoptics, because they ask the same questions and then they don't listen. Because, first of all and foremost, I'm not saying these nests we are studying or working on are Sasquatch nests. I have my suspicions, my heavy suspicions, based on a lot of stuff, but based on a lot of time in the field and in studying these dang things. But yeah, so if you're going to get information off of Facebook or social media, it's a bad thing. But so, and you said a good thing, Mike. We were blessed with this because the Olymp Project did not come across these nests originally. They were found by a timber surveyor that had been out, you know, doing his timber surveying for over 27 years in remote locations, day after day after day for 27 years in the Pacific Northwest. He's bumped into bear, he's bumped into cougar, elk, you name it. He's seen about everything in the woods, and he came across these ground nests 2.5 miles behind a lock gate and way off trail by himself. He was marking an area that was going to be timbered. That was, so many yards away from a seasonal salmon creek, as they have to keep the timbering away from, certain distance from these creeks and rivers. He came across 3 different nests up on this knoll or finger coming down a ridgeline that he couldn't explain. They blew his mind because it was all huckleberry in a kind of a bathtub shape, formulated in a nest on the ground, but kind of bathtub shape, but all out of huckleberry of different sizes. And as he started to look around this area, he knows that all the huckleberry boughs in this area had been broken off and stripped and transported to make these nests. And in his 27 years at that time, he had never seen anything like this. It kind of blew his mind. It kind of freaked him out. They looked pretty fresh. He'd never seen destruction in this area. And the way I describe this area, so basically you got this ridge line, so basically you look at your fingers here, you got your knuckles are the ridge, and then you got these fingers that come off that ridge. Well, at the very tip, say the finger, you would find these nests. Well, he was on one of these fingers or plateaus and came across these ground nests, 3 of them at the time. And when he walked into this area, because you can't see it from a distance, you can't see it from above because of the tree canopy, he walked into this, and I refer to it as almost like a room. You got like a wall of huckleberry, like a house wall. Well, to get in the house, you have to open the door. Once he entered into that room, into that area, that's when he saw all the destruction. All the huckleberry leaves been stripped off. There was piled huckleberry leaves. There was multiple nests. Kind of freaked him out. So he actually backtracked. He didn't finish tagging his trees or flagging those trees. He got out of there. He got a hold of his boss, the owner of this timber company. He got a hold of 2 DNR, Department of Natural Resource guys, because he was very interested in what the heck made these things. And he got a hold of Derek Randalls of the Olympic Project. And the reason he got a hold of Derek Randalls is because Derek is not just an avid outdoorsman. He's a licensed guide. He's a hunter, and he's lived up, in the Olympics and traveling. But also, Derek's a landscaper by trade. And 10 years prior, Derek had done some work for this gentleman, this timber surveyor. And so they invited Derek out to come out there as well to say, hey, you know what the heck these are? So Derek, the owner of the property, the DNR guys, the timber surveyor, and one other member, James Milling of the Olympic Project, went out there. They, drove in the lock gate 2.5 miles, then hiked way off trail, got down to this area. And between them all these gentlemen, all these guys with lots of experience, whether it's in the timber industry or hunting or fishing and all that stuff, none of them could recognize these nests, nor had they seen anything like that in all their years. So while they were there, they found a total of 7 nests. And they were kind of in a V formation, very strategic, a V formation with what I would call the point nest. So you come down this hill and then you get into the huckleberry, and there's this plateau with 7 nests, and you got a point nest, which leads down into this seasonal salmon creek, very steep drop off, the only real escape route out of this area. With James Milling discovered 2 rocks next to the point nest that had score marks on them, which was interesting. Something at one point in time by this point nest, one of the larger nests in this area, had score marks on them, and they were placed right next to the ground, right next to this nest that were, the only rocks in the area above the ground. And they also discovered a bush nest, which we now refer to as a practice nest. And it was a nest that was built about 2.5 feet off the ground in the huckleberry, but it looked like very similar to what was built on the ground. Now, the nests themselves, they're all made out of huckleberry boughs and huckleberry branches. They are oval in shape, bathtub for the most part. There's 1 or 2 rounder ones, very circular, but the rest are bathtub shape. These nests are made over 1 foot in depth of huckleberry. It took a lot of material to build these nests. Some of the nests, some of the stuff that was collected was, over 9 feet off the ground. Some was off 1 foot off the ground, but also some of this stuff was transported. You could find where a branch was taken 25 feet away. So it wasn't just like, like a bear will do. Bears will usually scrape the bark off a tree and make a bed. And sometimes they will gather boughs, not huckleberry boughs from 9 feet off the ground. They'll just grab their sticks and branches and make a very small base layer to keep them off the ground. There were thousands, hundreds of huckleberry boughs in breaks to make these nests. We brought Dr. Meldrum into this area to collect samples, and we deconstructed one of these nests. We took it apart. And one of the things Dr. Meldrum knows that some of the huckleberry boughs were actually pushed into the ground, and then the huckleberry branches, the green stuff, was formulated around it. So you almost had like a bit of a framework where the huckleberry would have been kind of, I won't say weaved, but formulated around those huckleberry boughs that were pushed in the ground. Right. So you have these large, anywhere from the smallest one, I think was about 3 feet across. The biggest one was 8.5, almost, 8.5 feet in diameter, 6 feet across, with tons of huckleberry, with a huge impression in the middle. So like I said, a bathtub, yeah, that's what they look like out there. Wow. But very close together. So, bears typically, when bear makes a bed or a small nest, it's 1. You'll find 1, maybe 2. You never find 7 in this that V formation, and they don't grab stuff 9 feet off the ground. You'll find teeth marks and you'll find claw marks. There's no teeth marks. There's no claw marks on any of this stuff. This stuff, like Meldrum will tell you, took something with an opposable thumb to build these nests. And so, and to date, we found 24 nests. So we got 7 on the one finger, but then you go another 100, yards, maybe 70 yards down into a ravine, up onto another plateau finger, and there'll be 3 or 4 there. Another 50 yards away through another ravine that leads up to the next plateau, and there's 4 more. And so they're spread out. All probably made it roughly the same time within weeks. And so these nests, again, weren't made, I think, for a day use, say like what a gorilla does. They were made for a spell of time, 3-4 days a week. I have no idea. We have found hair in these nests, and the hair is primate hair. It doesn't match anything in the Pacific Northwest. It lacks a medulla. So if you think of, when you think of hair, like a pencil. Think of hair as a pencil. The lead would be the medulla. There's no lead. There's no medulla in this hair. Bears have that. Humans, people have fragmented medullas, and sometimes they do lack them. But whatever made these nests left hair in there, and foot impressions and hand impressions. And when I say that we found 24, well, from 2016 when these things were discovered, we spent that first year going through all these different ravines and fingers and plateaus, and that's when we came across more and more and more. Well, we went a good 3-4 years without finding any more in any adjacent area. Going with what we were thinking was happening, thinking that these things were made in the months of March or February or March, thinking that these things are always built on a western-facing slope with a steep incline down to a seasonal salmon-bearing creek, and made out of huckleberry. We spent years looking for new ones, and Todd Hale, one of my partners of the Inland Project, and I came across something making a brand new one in February, the very tail end of February 2020. We walked in on something making one and almost got a glimpse of it, but did not. But we heard the dang thing, and we subsequently came across a ginormous pile of huckleberry that was starting to be formulated into a nest. But yeah, I mean, these nests are so profound to me for a lot of reasons, because like I said, I've been up and down California, Oregon, Washington. I've seen wood rats nests. I've seen eagle nests, and we can get into that later. But I've seen all sorts of nests, bear beds, bear nests, elk, deer, way off trail, on trail. These defy logic. They defy anything known. And it's just not just my word. We brought zoologists out to this area. We brought anthropologists, archaeologists, primatologists. To look at it now, there's not much to see. They degraded over time. But originally, nobody can give us an answer. They can tell you the hair is, it doesn't match anything out here. Meldrum will tell you it's primate hair. Cindy Dosen of Homini Enigma out of British Columbia will tell you it's primate hair. And then just the structure of the nest. Nobody has said, oh, yeah, that's bear, or that's this. We get a lot of flack on social media because they're like, oh, it's this or that. But nobody really listens to what we're sharing. We're not coming out and saying these things are Sasquatch nests, but what we are sharing is that these are unknown. Something's making these things, and it's unknown behavior. And like I said before, to reiterate, bears don't make nests bundled up like that in groups of different sizes. It doesn't happen. And the sheer amount of material, without transporting someone there, I can take video and show photos, but the sheer amount of material collected to build these nests it's absolutely stunning. So,
Wow.
Shane, now, we've kind of chatted about some of that stuff and the salmon streams and stuff like that. Have you found any carcasses or anything around the sites at all? Bones and such, where maybe something is using that as a feeding area? And hello, Mr. Shaw. Why don't you come join us? We're actually in Buffalo. So
Oh, is that? See, I
Yeah,
was
it
giving
was
them
Tim
weird
Shaw,
looks earlier
yeah.
because I can't read anything on
And-
in the comments tonight. It's too far away.
and we're in a haunted location. Do you
So-
guys see Kristie doing
Oh my
something?
God, I'm all
I know some of
distracted.
our studios, I've noticed, are getting
Yeah.
touched by something.
Yeah.
Joe's
I
going to
have
be.
blowing on the back of my neck again. I'm losing. Look at my fingers; they're turning blue.
Yeah, they are.
My fingertips are turning. Like I noticed my hands are real swollen. Sorry, Shane.
Yeah.
It's
Good.
that's all part of when I'm around. That's
Joe
I'm
that
just
owns the
noticing other
location
things, yeah.
he's gonna be running like an overnight cam and stuff in here. Because
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff like appear just recently
Cool.
in this location.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool location.
Yeah.
But you guys, the huckleberry. I'm sorry, I went from the fish thing, but just thinking about what we talked about with my guys with the science team on my end is that huckleberry is got some special properties. And when we look at even what we have in the Northeast, with the elderberry and stuff like that, you have those properties which people don't. If you wouldn't mind kind of elaborating on that one. So
Yeah, I'll touch on the first thing you said. So just to reiterate here, or not reiterate, but I didn't mention this earlier. These nests, when they were discovered, it was in, I think, the beginning of May. So whatever had made these nests, they had vacated it probably, we assume, March, maybe late February, March, when they were built. They probably stayed in there for a little while. But this timber surveyor found them in May. So if there was any remnants of that stuff, it would have been long gone, whether it was fish, because the Salmon Creek below these nests, it is like a National Geographic photo at certain times of the year. You can walk across the salmon. You could walk across them. So it's a natural protein source. And it's a steep decline down to get there. You can't see the river from the nest, but you could hear it. But you go through a lot of thick stuff. So there was nothing found other than hair and a few impressions in the original nest area. I've asked people, because one of our theories is that this is a possible, and I'll get into this a little bit, but a possible birthing area or a nursery based on a lot of different things, and including the huckleberry, like you were just mentioning. So, pardon me, Squatchermetrics. I think you're familiar with him, obviously, but Squatchermetrics, you find him on Facebook or Instagram. He's a good friend of the Olympic Project. He's from London, lives in London. He comes to the States periodically. He'll stay with me and visit the Olympics and whatnot. But he's a statistician by trade. One of the things he does is, he's worked for the Premier Soccer League in England, which is, like your NFL over here. But just a brilliant mind. And so, we work with him with data and different resources there. And one day he came to me and goes, Shane, in his Courtney Londoner accent, he goes, Shane, do you know if there's any medicinal or any new, what's up with this huckleberry? Is there anything to it? Why make the nest out of huckleberry? And I said, well, it's the most predominant, other than salal, which is kind of like the ground growth that does have a salal berry, which you can eat, both human and animal. You have the salal as a ground growth, and then you have the huckleberry, which can grow from, in this area, up to 9 feet tall. I mean, you can't see, a couple of feet in front of you. He asked me, well, making nests out of huckleberry, I get it. But is there anything, nutritional, medicinal about it? So I said, nutritional, sure. You got the huckleberries, antioxidants and all that stuff. But medicinal, I'm like, I'm not sure. So he did, Wes Squatchermetrics, he did a little research on it and found out that doctors used to give women a concoction of huckleberry leaf and sugar after childbirth to help them regain their strength. And I thought, well, what? I had no idea. Yeah, you should, anybody out there giving birth, take some huckleberry leaves and sugar. Kidding. I'm not a doctor.
I wish it was that.
I got Loganberry back there, but I don't know how many I do have to just wait.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I've done it 3 times. I'm not really sure, but yeah.
No, but it was profound. I never thought of that. And I thought, shoot, wow. I mean, if our running idea is that these are an area where something could give birth, or, based on the different size of the nest, the practice nest, I'll talk about that a little bit. So this nest that was found above the ground in the huckleberry, kind of, we're like, well, what's up with this? It looks like the ones on the ground. It can't hold any weight, but it looks like one of the ones on the ground. And so Derek had done a lot of research on nests in general. And then he looked into gorillas, which these nests look just like gorilla nests. I mean, just like them. Very, very similar. But the bush nest, 2 of them that we found in 2 different areas, gorillas will teach their young, either the mama or the little one will do a practice nest in a bush as a practice nest. And that's what it looks like. So our idea was that, well, maybe if Sasquatch is making these nests, this would be a practice nest because it's very similar. And so then you have the huckleberry, which has that medicinal purpose amongst others. And it wasn't just that. When you walk into this area, you have huckleberry breaks. You have this formation of nests. Well, in some cases, every nest you can, if you sit in one nest, not now, it's overgrown, but originally, if you sat in one nest or stood by one nest, you could see every other nest because things were either, the huckleberry boughs were either broken off or twisted behind something and stuck down, or all the leaves were plucked off the huckleberry from top to bottom. And in some cases, there were piles of huckleberry leaves around the nest where they, these huckleberry leaves, no teeth marks, no claw marks. These were plucked, stripped. Whatever made these nests, were they going to eat those leaves? Were they going to use them as more bedding? I don't know, but there were piles of them. And then, like I said, you could see every nest because either the huckleberry boughs were broken or snapped off. If there was I'm sitting in one nest and I'm looking over. If there was a bough of a huckleberry branch, which could be anywhere from a 1/4 inch in size to over 2.5 inches, and you try to break that stuff, forget about it. But it was either, to see the next nest, you would have to break it, twist it, or pull it down. And that's the case in these areas. No matter what position you sat in, you could see every other nest, in the initial nest area, there was 7. So you could see every other, one of the other 6 nests. And the huckleberry leaves, we don't have silverback gorillas up here. And a lot of people get angry. Oh, you're thinking these things are apes. I'm not saying they're dumb apes. I'm not seeing, I do believe there's something primate-like. Definitely not dumb. And actually, to call primates dumb in general is actually condescending and arrogant, in my opinion. But the intelligence that went into making these nests was very intelligence for one, and profound. And there's just so much. Even to this day, I'm out in this area, and I'm still, even though it's overgrown, the original area, hundreds of yards over almost 1,000 feet. It's still profound to me, and we're still cataloging and finding things to this date. And like I said, in 2020, end of February, when we assumed these things would be made, we came, not every year. We think these things are made every 4 to 5 years, possibly in this area. And very much like orangs. Orangs will, I guess we're going to the birthing thing. Orangutans will give birth every 4 to 8 years, every 6 to 8 years. And that's kind of our running hypothesis. If this is indeed Sasquatch, we will come across nests possibly in this area every 4 to 5 years. And once again, like I said, we found one 2016. We found one in 2020 in a different ravine, 1,000 feet away or 1,200 feet away in a different ravine, western facing slope, Salmon Bearing Creek. And it was in the making in the month we assumed it would be made, which is, March, but it was the very end of February. So there are patterns of predictability, I believe, when it comes to this nest building or nest making.
Shane, did anybody ever spend the night by those nests or in that area, or maybe in the nesting area itself? Did anybody ever camp out overnight for a period of time, or even just one night, to see what would happen or if anything would happen?
Yeah, no one's ever spent the night in these in the nest on the Fingers. We spent many a night, a couple 100 yards away. Okay. We brought Seth Breedlove and his crew out there, and Alex Petrikoff and Eli Watson spent the night in we made a kind of like a makeshift camp in between some nests. Never had anything happen, but we didn't assume it would. But no one's ever spent a night in the nest. I don't think these things are. So when it comes to the nests themselves, I'm speaking to the intelligence of what made these. They stay a time and they leave, because if they have to stay too long, they're going to make such a big impression. It will be seen from afar. It will be seen from the air. So I think they, periodically, I do believe Sasquatch personally is moving through this area periodically. based on our audio recordings and some of our impression findings and stuff we've heard in person and seen in person.
Sure.
They're moving through that area, but we kind of stay. We stay on the outskirts. We stay out of the outskirts of town, so to speak.
Gotcha.
We kind of let them do their thing. Now, do we have plans to do that down the road? Sure, but like this year, I don't know if something's making nests in this area this year, but I kind of my idea kind of led the pack. My idea was we'll place long-term audio in this area. We'll maintain a presence in and around this area, but we're going to stay out of the deep, dark woods of this area. We're going to stay out of the ravines, the fingers. I want to see if something comes back and builds nests. I don't want to. Back in February of 2020, when we came across something making one, and I'm pretty sure, based on the hand impressions and the foot castings impressions and our experience out there, that maybe it was a Sasquatch. I can't say it was, but I felt really guilty. I did. Later on, I felt really guilty because when I saw that huge pile of huckleberry that was plucked that day, and all the huckleberry barrel was broken off, I thought, something spent a really long time collecting this stuff, formulating a nest. It wasn't quite a nest, but formulating that nest. I felt kind of guilty because now it either had to, now I had to go move somewhere else. It wasn't coming back. It was discovered. You disturbed that home. It's not coming back. I kind of felt guilty. Yes, that's what we're out there to do and all that. But I thought, the following year, COVID hit and all that. And that's a whole nother story. But, this year I decided that we would stay out of this area till maybe, April or May and see if anything's been, and I'm pretty sure they have been, but see if anything's made any nests. We'll scour the area. We'll get off trail, bushwhack, but we'll find the evidence we need and collect the data we need. But if they're making nests, we'll leave them alone. Do your thing, whether it's a birthing process or an area where they just sit down and eat the nutrients they need for a spell of time. That's my angle. Maybe I'll change that down the road, but I just kind of, I'm not out to prove Sasquatch exists. I just want to collect the data and know what the heck these things are. But we do have plans to spend, up in come May, we're going to spend a week out in this area. Chris Spencer and Rebecca and Slicker are going to come up to this area, and we're going to spend a week out in this area, a little bit closer, but not intruding in that area.
Right. Okay.
Don't want to lower those property values.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
it's we've been on for about an hour. We need to take a quick commercial break. So if you guys need to run, grab something to drink and run to the bathroom, do that. We're going to come back with Shane. We're going to talk a little Project Zoo Book and a little bit about his podcast. So see you guys right back. And please, if you have those questions, drop them in the comments. My studio, please ask those questions. So be right back, guys, right after this quick commercial break.
WLFE-DB.com, where you can find vodcast shows, podcasts, and more like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Paratalk Radio, Just Cindy, and more. So go check out WLFE-DB.com, where talk radio is a whole lot better. Our shows are your shows, and that there makes for a great talk radio.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area, 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Ted Van Son Jr. is a seasoned investigator and well-versed in the ways of paranormal investigation. He is now ready to share his ideas and unique approach with all of you. Flashlight, recorder, and comfortable shoes. Hit the ground running as you follow this easy step-by-step guide to a fun and thorough paranormal investigation, perfect for first-time and lightly seasoned investigators. Think outside the paranormal box. Learn all about the technology and techniques used back in the early days of paranormal investigation. You can find these valuable resources online at Goodreads, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Amazon. Get yours today.
Hi, I'm Jenna Grover. In the world of fashion, we get lost in the cost. Everyone wants that special piece of quality jewelry, but they can't afford it. Not on my watch. I sell handmade quality jewelry for a fraction of the price, and that includes jewelry made of sea glass, natural stone, crystal beads, glass beads, Bigfoot jewelry, and more. If you don't see what you want, email me, because I make custom jewelry too. Check out my website at gbythesea.com. Also, you can email me at jewelry@gbythesea.com.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
All right. We are
Go
back.
to my seat.
She's running away. Let's see.
That was a really fast commercial.
There we go.
See, at home, I don't usually tend to get up.
So we're back with Sheen Corson from the Olympic Project and Monster X Radio and Zoo Book,
Zoo
and
Book.
everything else. Let's get in a little Zoo Book.
Yes.
What's about? Okay. Am I muted? Are you muted? Did we lose a speaker somewhere along the line?
Can you hear me?
There we go.
All right. Okay. Excellent.
I'm
So,
here.
You're here. Zoo Book.
Okay.
What's Zoo Book? I mean, I know it's.
What is Zuba?
Of course you do. Yeah. Zubik is it's actually something I'm really passionate about and enthused to be a part of. I know you are, Mike, as well. Zubik was founded by Amy Boo. In my thoughts and when I go out with her, I know she's battling some medical issues right now, but just what a fantastic resource and woman. Man, I hope she gets better because she's a force to be reckoned with. So absolute force to be reckoned with. But yes, we love you. But yeah, Project Zubik was formed by Amy Boo, and it's basically a collaboration, a think tank, both academic and scientist individuals, and your researchers, your investigators, sort of thing, where we come together, we share ideas, we hypothesize, we get feedback from both parties. You get feedback from the academic world and the layman, those out there, research wise, investigating, recording, collecting data. And then you got the scientist end of it, the academic end of it, that with their backgrounds, both, whether it's anthropological, we got a plethora of different individuals. You got wildlife biologists, you have, marine biologists, all walks of life. But a lot of these individuals, and zoologists, there were some of the original ones that helped start up this project, but it's basically a think tank. And, some of these individuals, with like a lot of people that are interested from the academic world in this field are kind of like in what I call the Sasquatch closet. They're not quite ready to come out yet, but they're interested in it. They're interested in the phenomena. They think there may be something to it, or they just want to know more and they want to add their input. And then some of these individuals are quite public, but it is such a, it's, one of our mantras, is we're trying to make the subject matter less taboo. And we got that from, John Bindernagel, Dr. John Bindernagel, the late, great John Bindernagel, wildlife biologist who for years, like Dr. Melton, put his career on the line to reach out to academia and say, hey, look into this. There is something to this, not just based on witness reports, but based on the physical evidence, the track cast and the hair and all that stuff. We are trying to make the subject matter less taboo, and we include those from the academic world to join us and talk, and discuss and hypothesize and brainstorm and kind of pick each other's minds. And so Project Zubik is it's fantastic, and it's been fantastic for a number of years now, and it's growing slowly. But man, it's one of the coolest things I've been involved with in years, and obviously, Mike, you've been involved, and it's branching out, it's growing, but mainly, I saw David Wickham in the chat there. He posted something, but yeah, he's a huge part of it as well. Just a great guy and fantastic. Ready to go Project Zubik. Heck yeah, he's a fantastic researcher out of Ohio. yeah, just a great group of like-minded individuals that we just try to get to the bottom of things and discuss stuff and share stuff in a closed environment, but yet a very open environment when it comes to thoughts and opinions. So it's Mike, what's your experience with Project Zoobook? I'm going to put him on the spot.
Yeah, for me,
I'm turning the table.
He was trained to do this.
I know. I love
turning
this
the
guy.
tables.
For me, it's really interesting to kind of look at how we as the lay researchers are out in the field, and then we can see the tech that the science teams have available and how the stuff is filtered down. Like, we really can't get into what we go over, but some of ArcGIS or something like that. But how a researcher getting out can really put that data there in, the little kid in the back of the room going, what's at the big kids table, and like just have a different, like you said, a different outlook on things and be able to say, hey, I saw this in the woods. You from your particular field, I came from criminal justice and archaeology field, looking at things from that aspect, and then having the biologist or the primatologist say, hey, this is what we're doing, or this is what we're seeing every day in a zoo or in a lab setup, or the folks that are in the field, with those PhDs and stuff like that. I'm blessed to have one, driving my butt all over the place most of the time. And it's really, I get that science lesson every day, but listening to the folks from around the country and what everybody's seeing from around the country and using that empirical data. Like Joe here from Western New York is asking, we've been out with Joe, and I'll put this up, and then I gotta get closer to the screen to read it. But
better you than me.
There we go. If you'd like to, see if there's what your empirical data is, and do you guys from the OP or has Zoobook, put that stuff out for folks to really take a look at the data that's out there. And looks like Rebecca, another member, is popping in right there with a little answer on there. That the group hopes to.
I'm going to get you a magnifying glass.
Well, for some reason, my third screen, me, I got to have a spare one. I brought the baby one with me. Doesn't want to connect. Joe put this beautiful one together, but I wanted to make sure the audience could see what was going on so we could keep this great stuff going.
Yeah.
Again, we're blessed to be here at the venue tonight. So, but it's such an amazing group. And even, I'm trying this hair thing, on my end, and the members, that have reached out to me offline and said, hey, let's give it a shot. And I don't care if it works or not, but at least maybe some young kid somewhere might say, hey, Mom, let's go out in the woods, or, Dad, we're out hunting. Can we take this hair sample and put it into a database? So we've got somebody like Cindy that can really take a look at things, or the science folks, or some of our other friends that are getting ready to do the big DNA studies that, would be, that I got the phone call that we'll be able to officially put out. So he told me to start talking about it, and
there you go.
That's just
is that
the
one
thing.
step closer to officially? Is that what? Officially. Sorry.
So, but those are things folks have to look outside the box, and I think that's what we're doing. You guys with the OP, Amy with getting the crew together from Zoobook, and just being able to. So we got a question from the studio audience, or are you getting touched on that side of the audience?
No, I just saw North Coach.
Oh, okay. Yep. We'll have to go back and look at that video.
That's kind of what I thought you meant when you were like.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, Mike's got to get out here. But we've been here for a couple of things. It's just it's a very interesting. Again, this is the place that if you're looking for your Bigfoot stuff in Western New York.
Oh yeah.
Joe's got all the cameras and the recorders and everything on the other side of the wall. We just happen to be in the room that this room you guys see in the switch views here. He does voodoo classes on, different things, making voodoo dolls and everything else like that. So let's bring Shane back over because he's our guest. Let's see. So Dave's got that in there. Staffing academics interact with boots on the ground. Researchers share data to establish real possibilities of sound and collection of proof. So,
Boom.
I guess that's the best way of putting it. But that was for you folks listening from the audio, because again, I got to do that little post. We're here on Facebook and YouTube and 8 different channels right now live. And then tomorrow night we'll be up on all the great podcast locations. So we do appreciate our wonderful audience
very much.
Now, along with this, you've been doing a podcast all the way along.
I have, around 2013, and I've done a couple. I used to do cryptozoologic or cryptologic radio. Man, it's been a number of years, which was with Shelley Come to Montana and a few others. But my original podcast, which I stick with today, it's nothing but Sasquatch talk. We don't delve. That's my only passion, honestly. But is Monster X Radio. Been around since about 2013. Interviewed a countless amount of witnesses, enthusiasts, researchers, academic individuals. But it's all about Sasquatch. It's Sasquatch, and it's when I'm not out in the field, when I'm not camping out there, and I'm doing that 3 to 4 times a week. I'm out a consistent amount of time, and that's why Monster X has been a little bit slow lately, but we've been doing it for a number of years, hundreds of shows. And it's a passion. I love to talk Sasquatch, and I love to talk to people about Sasquatch, and I love new ideas, new theories, shared experiences, shared encounters. It's like I said, it's when I'm out in the woods and stuff, I want to, I'm at home, and I'm so thankful that I have a wife that I have a 10-year-old daughter who's just as enthusiastic as I am. And then I have my wife who puts up with me. But having said that, she's actually really interested in the subject matter, but not so much that she, does what I do. But she's been out in the woods with me a few times. We've had a few things happen that she's there's definitely something to this. But I enjoy Monster X Radio. Gunnar Monson's my co-host. Man, what a pleasure. I made so many good contacts over the years. Yeah. And doing a podcast, and you're out there for a number of years, people start to reach out to you, and I this literally just happened today. I was via Facebook, but because of Monster X Radio, I had a gentleman reach out to me, and he has this impression he found. I don't know. I guess I could talk about this. Maybe I shouldn't.
Always
okay, I'll get it short. I won't name the area because there's some other people involved in this, but it's going to be
found in Hawaii.
Yeah. No, but there was this impression found.
Hey, there she is.
Hey.
Oh,
Amy.
there she is. Oh, heck yeah. Hey, Amy.
Glad you could join us.
Yep, we love you, Amy. We said that earlier, but we'll say it again.
Yes, we love you. We're glad you're feeling up to showing up for the show.
Yes, we
coming to see us.
We're coming out that way to see you as soon as we can.
Yes.
But I'll say this: there was an impression found 40 years ago by this guy. He was out, he's in his 50s now. He was young when he, in a certain area of Washington. I can't give up more than that. I probably shouldn't even mention it, but it's kind of cool, and it will come out hopefully after it's been vetted. But this impression was found 40 years ago, and they casted it, and it's very similar to some other casts found in this area, 20 years later. But, I got Cliff Berrickman involved now in this because there's a lot of historical stuff. I think it's going to be something kind of cool coming down the pike here. But this guy reached out to me and sent me a picture, and I get sent a lot of stuff like a lot of us do, and a lot of times it's just like, this guy sent me a cast that was, from 40 years ago. He sounded legit. Hey, I was out hunting with my dad. I was 14. We found this cast. We had to drive back into town to get plaster. Came back, casted it. Big impression, but it looks just like a patty cast. But it also, in the area that it was found, it would predate all the other impressions found in this area. But it's really good looking, and I'm I'm hoping that, once it's all checked out and vetted and all that stuff, that, it's not going to be like groundbreaking. Don't get me wrong, but it's historically speaking, it could add a lot of value to some other people's stuff, video that was found in or shared in this area. So yeah, up in Washington State. So the joys of doing podcasting or symposiums, for example, it's a joy, and you meet a lot of great people. I mean, I met a lot of good people out in Ohio when I did a conference out there, and got to share my podcast out there, and they since joined, listening to my podcast, and all I do is Sasquatch talk, and we keep it real. I don't claim to know anything, because I don't. I have my ideas, my hypothesis, my experiences, which I think for a lot of people count for a lot. They do for me, but there's no experts in this field. There's experts in certain fields, but what I bring to Monster X Radio is an open mind, but an open mind, but a lot of feedback on my experiences, and I'm open to a lot of different things. So, yeah, it's a joy. It's a joy. Do you guys have fun doing your podcast, your stuff?
Yeah,
come on.
I mean,
yeah, it's fun.
That's great.
We're always learning, and yours is one of the first ones I got into, the Bigfoot ones, to really look at, how you guys look at things, and again, each of our witnesses see something different, from their backgrounds. It really, it does. Like we mentioned with Zubuk. I mean, just what you get as a witness is totally going to be different from folks to folks, just from their work, their environmental background. I mean, you take somebody from New York City and stick them in the middle of, Tennessee, they're going to be something a little bit different in the woods or something like that than, somebody from PNW going to Florida or something like that. I mean, like Matt's in the audience right now. We're going to go mess with him in Florida in a couple of weeks. You guys had Alex from, that we've had on just out there with you guys, and Seth. I mean, it's great that we're all sharing this information and looking at that empirical data. Joe, I'll reach out to you on the equivalent plant life in New York, because here in the Finger Lakes, we do have very similar, or reach out to Paul. He'll get you the rundown.
Well, can I share something about that? When it comes to these nests, it wasn't like this timber surveyor was the only one to come across nests. In fact, after these nests were discovered, I started doing a lot of background research on, unknown nests, and lo and behold, I had no idea that there was others found in, unknown nests, and sometimes associated, or seen, there was a Sasquatch scene and somebody came across a nest. There's been nests found in, that I'm aware of, and I'm sure there's a lot more, but California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Utah, Idaho, Alaska, British Columbia, and many other states. And they're not always made out of the same material. But they're almost the same construction. And that blows my mind. In fact, I love mentioning this. If you guys know Daniel Perez, right, of Bigfoot Times?
Yep.
Yeah, Daniel Perez did an interview with a former timber employee named Lyle Laberty. And Lyle Laberty worked in Northern California in the Bluff Creek area. He worked in the Bluff Creek area in 1967. And in 1967, he came across a nest above Scorpion Creek, Scorpion Creek feeds into Bluff Creek. So in 1967, you have the Patterson-Gimlin film with Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson. Okay. And Lyle Laberty was a timber surveyor, and he came across a nest a stone's throw away from where the film was, in Scorpion Creek. I had no idea. Is there a correlation there? Maybe. But there's been many nests found throughout the years, and predominantly speaking, not all the time, they are found by people in the timber industry, because these areas these nests are found are not areas you hike into, you fish, you hunt, you explore. They're nasty. They're thick. You have a job to do. That's what these timber guys have. They have a job to do. They have to go into this area to mark timber cuts, to survey. That's where these nests are being built. And that to me is one of those little patterns you want to, if you're not going to find these nests next to a road, or in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but in my opinion,
just makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get sent photos like, oh, here's a nest or this or that. but it's always right next to a man-made trail or something. No, that doesn't make any sense to me. Based on what we're working on. So they have been found, but they are made out of different material. And when I talk about it on these shows, and when I talk about it at symposiums or conferences, it's not the showboat. I don't care about that. What I'm trying to do is showcase our findings, and this timber guy's findings, everything that we've studied. You go, hey, anybody in this crowd, you never know who you're talking to, who's got an open ear, who's listening. You never know. Maybe in Michigan, maybe in New York, maybe in Florida, maybe in Texas, Oklahoma, Utah. You may come across, maybe British Columbia, may come across something very similar, and maybe they'll be the one to tap that nail in. Oh, boom. We got video of a Sasquatch making this, or we found this, we found that. Maybe different material, same sort of structure, sort of thing. So I'm just trying to spark, and showcase this stuff. I want academic individuals that have the backgrounds to call my bluff or call me out, or hey, or be interested in this subject matter. Go, okay, well, I don't know about the Sasquatch thing, but that's an interesting looking nest. I really would like to know what the heck made that nest, and why, and where, and when. Those, as a scientist, those should be questions asked. I mean, you throw Sasquatch out the window. Who cares? For a scientist. I mean, but something's making these. This should be peer reviewed, looked at, because they are that profound, and there will be more found, whether it's by the Limb Project or not. There will be more found, and they should be studied, because this is not known behavior. This is not known behavior. That should excite people. It's like the Bluff Creek Project. They run their cameras down there, Bluff Creek, and they found that the marten that they thought it was extinct or not around. They found it. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating. I couldn't believe the first time that we talked and you had told me about that, and it's amazing to me. It
really, like you said, you guys are giving folks that sample of, hey, what else is out there? It's that teaser, because after we talked to you, our group, we sat and we talked and we started looking at some historical stuff. And in one of the locations, it had the West Side and Fingers and everything else. And sure enough, coming through, looking at the plants and everything, we crossed something. But then we went back to look at some data we had from another a law enforcement official that invited us out to his property that had a sighting. And we found what looked like a nest that we kind of bypassed. But in this area, we found magnolia seed pods. And like you said, what are those properties for something like that?
Right.
And is it just bird food? No, magnolia seed pods produce something similar to like a citronella. It's a natural bug repellent. So why was this nested, what looked like a nested area, on private property where the guy would definitely shoot you if you came on the property?
Good to know.
Yeah, that's why you moved to Texas. But why were these pods here? And we took samples, and the science member of the team that was with us that day, I mean, he spent about a week and a half going through and reaching out to, every person he could get in the lab at work and say, hey, what's out there? Getting a hold of horticulturists, and that information is just there. What are we missing? And like you said, not everything next to the road is a tree structure, because where's a Boy Scout camp? Where's somebody teaching a survival class? And we should do that. We've got all our Naked and Afraid folks coming the end of next month. We should have them do some demos or something like that.
Yeah, get Trent Nielsen on the show.
Oh yeah.
Trent's actually going to be with us the end of
I figured.
month.
I know Trent well.
We've been trying.
We got
trying to mesh with him to do anything. It's just like
we got Trent, we got Mel.
Trent, Melanie. I see.
Oh,
You know them.
yeah,
I know
Chance,
Trent, Melanie.
yeah.
Oh, Chance will be there.
Yeah.
Chance will be there.
But
And something
Mel
else, but I
had
haven't met them yet.
that experience in New Orleans, in Louisiana.
Yep.
And then we've sat.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
with Trent.
I've had all those individuals on Monster X way back when, and Trent he's a nut. That guy's a nut.
He was
And
hysterical.
But he's
We was
hysterical.
there
I
with
love
him
him
at
to
the
death.
JP. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I was peeing my pants.
Oh, I gotta listen in that show.
Oh my God, it was awesome.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, we've been doing an event with him the last couple of years, and traveling with those
That'd be
folks, they're a great bunch of.
Oh yeah.
But they want to go
That's great.
Bigfoot while we're here, so we're gonna get them out in We're gonna get them out in the woods out here.
Oh, fantastic.
So, oh yes.
Any more of a comment?
Okay, we're gonna let's slide to my studio audience.
Hold on, we need
There you go.
Yeah,
Mike to,
there we
like,
go.
do
All
his
right,
thing.
so
Okay.
from the audience,
So if you go to Cornell University site, you just Google Cornell University, and you go to, they have an ornithology lab.
yep, that's Macaulay Library.
Yeah, okay, I didn't know it's the same thing, but I found, like, I have Cooper's hawks and I have Eastern screech owls in my backyard, and I live on, I have a boulevard near Walmart, you know, I get little plots, and yet they're there. And
Very interesting.
yeah, and you're listening to these sounds, and we're like, what is this? And you go on there, and it just kind of shows you what it is, and you can hear the sounds too. But
Yeah, that's neat.
it's just a.
Sorry, I cut you
Thank
off
you.
there, Sharon. Yeah. My bad. So, but yeah, I mean that's. Could you hear? My bad. So, could you hear? All right, Shane.
I think most of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that Macaulay Library of Sounds, what a great free resource. Now, and you know, over the years, been using that program for years, and they're always adding to it. It's not stagnant, so they're always adding to it. Because, and it's important that they do that. It's important that we record sounds in the woods and maintain that library. Like, oh, there's a coyote, throw it out there. Oh, that's just a coyote. No, it's important to maintain those sounds because just like people, or, you know, animals make a lot of different sounds. And I refer to it this way. Because the Macaulay Library of Sounds does not have every sound that a coyote makes, or a moose, or a deer, or an elk, or a cat, a cougar. But they have a lot of the most common ones, and a lot of sounds. But like like you or I, you know, we're walking in a room at night. You know, say it's dark, and we're going downstairs for a glass of water, and we stub our toe. You will make sounds you did not know you were capable of making because you stubbed your toe. Well, the same thing's to be said about animals in the woods. Not that they're stubbing their toe, but they make sounds based on different reasons. Maybe they're running and they hit a tree, and then, you know, weird bark or howl. Animals, that was a bad animal noise there, but that was me stubbing my toe at night.
My husband thought my dog fell on the steps, the kind of sounds that were coming out of me. That's how bad it was in the fall.
Exactly.
So you're absolutely, that's why I'm laughing. I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally relate to that.
But you just made a good point. You know, you really, you know, I've said for years, but when you get out of the car, take pictures of everybody's shoes and boots. But now I'm thinking about it. You should probably run a recorder at home before you go out to the woods.
Right.
See what you sound like snoring. You know,
you'd know all about that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I have 8 hours in the Everglades of myself and Aaron Phillips from Naked and Afraid snoring, and something literally throwing rocks at the cabin we were in the middle of this woods in this abandoned cabin. And just snores and just rock throws all night long. You know, so I mean, you gotta know what's there.
He goes, oh, it's these.
Oh no. Well, we got the same thing with Alex in the Adirondacks too. So I mean, know who's snoring before you get out in the woods.
Oh yeah, and don't camp next to them. I'm telling you, we were just, you know, I just got back from this trip with Robert Landerman and a bunch of individuals, and God bless Robert. He's first time I met Robert, and just an amazing, you know, he got, you know, the Bigfoot of the Year through Daniel Perez's Bigfoot newsletter, but just an amazing guy. First time I met him, we corresponded, but really amazing guy. But there was somebody in our camp that we moved camps the third night. It was the last night there, so we kind of wanted to just say hello to everybody, just kind of do an easy camp, which ended up being the night. We actually had some weird stuff happen, but we had our camp set up. And Robert, one of the guys went to bed early in our camp. I won't name him, but he was snoring. And Robert's like, you know what? I'm not staying next to this dude. And we picked up his tent and moved it. And it's a wonder. It's a wonder, though. And I tell people this all the time. This is why you have to have recorders out all the time, because when we fall asleep, you may wake up to something, but it's so amazing to me how much we miss, both awake and asleep, how much we miss that's going on around us. Whether it's loud or subtle or quiet, how much we miss. And so that's where the audio really comes into play, because, you know, that I'm tired right now. I'm drinking coffee because I'm gassed, but we were out Friday, and not a long outing, Friday through Sunday night, Friday afternoon through Sunday night. I came home Monday, but we were up till 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and there wasn't much to be said. But when I went to bed on the last night after hearing some weird stuff and experienced a few oddities, went to bed and my audio collected a bunch of stuff that I didn't know happened, and a lot of it was known. Barred owl that was not too far away, that sort of stuff. But I was just amazed at how much, you'll be amazed how much you miss when you're asleep. As observant as we think we are, we are not that observant.
Yeah, you're right. It's true. It's like, does the tree really make a sound when it falls in the woods if you're not there, kind of thing? Things still happen. Life still goes on if you're not somewhere, but it's just amazing.
A bear does poop in the woods, and I do
And
have
Mike
a
does
giant
in the middle
picture of a whole field that looks like a litter box with the bear in the field.
That's true. You do. Yes.
A poop cemetery. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's a litter box. And I can find a litter box. It's what I meant. There is a question from Kent here. He says, were there any, on the poop comment, were there any old piles of scat found near the nests?
So there was no scat. That's a great question as well. There was no scat found in. Once again, this nest or the original nest area was discovered months later. Probably made in the months of either tail end of February or March. Discovered in May. There was no scat found or poop found around the nest. There was some inside the nest, which I believe John Pickering of the Olymp Project still has in his freezer. It's not fresh. It's very hard to get any DNA and all that because it was months later. But there's probably hair and stuff. Yeah. But even in so with bears, for example, that with bears, a lot of the bear beds I found, there's bear scat very close by. It's not a lot of times clumped up around their bed. These nests, for the sheer amount of nests, there was, yes, found months later, but there was no scat found, but one or two little piles in the nest, which may have been like, oh, we're vacating the area, poop, and take off. But I expected, well, the saying, don't crap where you eat or sleep, So, yeah, I think Sasquatch, if these are Sasquatch, they don't do that. They just don't do that. But I could be wrong, and it was months later. Maybe there was, because, scat poop does disappear rather quickly. So, yeah.
But that's kind of, when you look at, even your pets at home, they'll find one area. Your dog will go to one section of the yard, or there's plenty of that stuff. So
right.
So where's? I'll let you finish that thought. I saw that going there, and I cut you off there.
Oh no. Is it? I was gonna say, I used to, when I had to, in my younger years, when I shared an apartment with a friend, I had a little dog, and this dog, he was a funny little dog. He would, he had his usual, we take him outside and go poop, but he hated my buddy, hated my roommate that had just moved in. And I was trying to help him out. I could afford a place by myself, but he hated my buddy. My buddy would leave his shoes out, and that dog would always take a dump inside his shoe. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess if you're out in the woods camping and you take off a Sasquatch, be careful where you leave your shoes.
He may not find your shoes in the pile.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's
wow.
great. Yes.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Shane, how can folks find you?
So we have a website, olympproject.com. It's a little stagnant right now. But a little stagnant, but there's a lot of really neat blogs on that and information about the Olympic Project. So olympicproject.com. You can find me through Monster X Radio. We're basically on all major platforms. I'm on Facebook, Shane Corson. I'm on Instagram and on Twitter. I don't really. It's hard to keep up with all these different things, and basically I just share some of my adventures and stuff. But the best way to reach me is either Facebook or Instagram. And the Olympic Project. There's like I said, I'm one face of the Olympic Project. There's a lot of great members involved. I won't go through them all, but some of them are listening tonight. And they know who they are. That do amazing work. I'm just one person in this group, but there's a lot of great individuals involved in this project, and and having said that, I get this all the time too. That sometimes we think we're the end all be all. No, Limb Project is just it's one group. There are many wonderful individuals and groups out there doing amazing things, and I'm in contact with a lot of them. Mike, you and I talk. There's a lot of good stuff going on out there. We are just a project up here in the Pacific Northwest doing what we're doing. Like-minded individuals, and we have fun doing what we're doing. We take ourselves serious, but not too serious.
Yes.
And but there's a lot of. I mean, I won't go through all the names of the individuals I know outside of the Limit Project doing amazing things, or the groups. So, and you guys have had some of them on your show, and I've had many of them on my show. So it's as much as you can have a group, it takes a village to raise a child, so to speak. And so the same thing with Sasquatch. We're not so tight-lipped about stuff. Maybe locations, and that's out of our hands, like the timber area. We don't want to lose access to that area. They're entrusting us with an area. So when people go, hey, well, where are these nests at? Well, I have to be a little bit vague about it. I'm sorry, I have to be. But outside of that, I'm willing to share anything else that we've come across or our ideas, as many other groups have. No Wax, a perfect example. I was just listening to a podcast with Bob and Kathy Strain the other day. And it was a wonderful podcast. I got a lot of respect for those guys. A lot of respect for the Bluff Creek Project. A lot of respect for you, Mike, in the New York group. But there's groups in Florida. There's groups in, around the country that are doing amazing things.
Right.
So we're just, upwards and onwards plugging ahead, and we're optimists. This mystery, for some they want it solved, and for some they just want answers for their own questions. And so it's a fun endeavor.
That's great. Well, it's like para-unity, Squatcha unity, cryptic unity, whatever. We still have to work together, right? Everyone comes from different backgrounds and perspectives, and, it all contributes. We all need it. We need each other.
If we don't share, and we're not, we're missing that path to the universe. We're really missing that growth, that personal growth. Like you said, you get out in the woods, you relax. And that's my thing is, man, it's a good day. Good day fishing is better than a bad day at work.
Right?
The other way around.
You gonna try that again? Take 2.
I've been at work too much this last 10 days. I don't know.
I'll give you that. You've been working a lot. But what's your excuse every other time? No. But this is great. Thank you so much. You had a lot of information. We'd love to have you back because we can only begin to scratch the surface. With everything that you do and everything that and different experiences and everything like that. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Kristie and Mike, thanks so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure, a wonderful conversation, and thanks for those listening in on it. And wonderful time. Thank you. I'll be back anytime you want.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thanks, brother.
Really nice having you. Have a great night and be safe.
You too, guys. All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you Thursday night.
Good night.
Good night.
So,
he's such a cool guy. He's so easy to listen to. He's easy to talk to. And he's like a wealth of information.
The folks at the OP are absolutely amazing. Like I said, check their stuff out. They've been on so many different programs, but they're down to earth guys and girls. You can really sit down and a bunch of them are here in the chat tonight. Follow them. Check out, like I said, Seth just spent all that time. We've had him on and Alex, and they just, man, the data, and when you really see what they're looking at, and they're going to share and they're help. And I mean, just take that positive energy and you always hear me. It's like, what is that data? So we don't know, but they're right now they're collected. And they also got a cool clubhouse out there too. You'll see in a lot of the movies and stuff.
That's why you like it. There it is right there.
It's the energy's kind of weird here tonight.
You're just noticing that now. I'm dry. I'm trying not to drink this whole bottle of water. I'm getting blown on the back of my neck. My fingers are blue. I'm going. I'm drained of energy. I got
people
over here in the audience that are getting, touched and
I got to thank our studio audience for being here with us tonight. This is the first time we did it, so we do appreciate all of you for being with us in the questions.
We should try this with a reading show.
But Joe's got to let us come back first.
Yes. What do you guys think? We should try this with a reading show. Do a couple, a little live on the chat, a little bit of live. Well, we'd have to keep it minimized to certain, so we don't have too many. But wouldn't that be awesome, Joe? I know you're watching. Yes. Joe, yes, right?
Yeah.
So everyone in the audience likes that idea.
So, but again, we've got to thank Joe at Paranormal
Yes.
Oddities and letting us use the venue, this
Yeah,
side of the
thank you so much.
shop. And if
One
you're
of our
if you're
favorite
looking for your
places.
stuff, is
He's
you're,
got it all.
you're looking for your
Everything hands
crystals,
down.
you're looking for your Bigfoot stuff,
Mhm.
you're looking for your ghost stuff. We got to say it.
And this
and-
amazing new room to
Yeah.
use. You can do classes, lectures, groups. I've come to different things here. I'm bringing Bree, my daughter. We're coming to Tim Shaw's gallery reading
Yeah, Tim's here all
on
the time.
Friday night.
and-
Tim's here all the time. I guarantee you guys come here, you are not leaving it, within plan to stay a while. It's awesome with the conversation and talking to Joe and just
But-
people who come and go. And there's so much to see. So
Guys, like I said, thank Shane. Check his stuff out. Check the OP stuff out.
yeah.
And come check out Paranormal Oddities. So
Mhm.
we will. We're gonna be doing some crazy stuff. Please like, share,
Yep.
subscribe. Please go over, hit that YouTube and the Instagram and the Spreaker, the Spotify, the iTunes. We're getting close to the 500 downloads there over on the other stuff. So
Please subscribe.
yeah,
Subscribe,
like the
subscribe,
Instagram. Yeah,
subscribe.
it's just more
YouTube.
stuff I can do from my end. So
Yes, makes his life easier and gives
So.
us more to work with. So
all right. So
I think that's it. So thank you to everybody who came out tonight to spend
Yep.
this night with us. We really appreciate it. And we have a lot coming up. So keep your
thanks
eyes on our
Sharon for bringing
pages.
us great
Oh,
cookies
and
too.
Sharon brought us cookies.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I've been going to the gym and
And
she
I
brought
gotta
us
say-
cookies. Hey, they're so good.
I gave a shout to Charlie the Butcher too. I mean, they were.
Oh,
awesome
yeah.
sandwiches too, so.
Phenomenal as usual. Phenomenal
Yeah.
as usual.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So,
Thank you. Stay safe.
Sample
Sample
on. Good
on.
night.
There's my button. There's the button. Yeah.